Power Plant Network. What is up? If it's Wednesday, you know that we had the Napalm webcast at 10 Mountain. And now it's my favorite night of the week, our weekly conversation with an industry leader where we connect, where we talk about what's good, when we talk about what's hard, we talk about growth opportunities, we talk about challenge, we just get into real life because it's so important in these times for so many of our friends in the industry, either experiencing growth or struggling, to realize, that leaders put on their pants just the same way everybody else does. And oftentimes their lives mimic so many of ours. And, maybe they take greater risks, or maybe they've tried things other people haven't. And so it's so, I love studying people in roles of leadership because I always learn something that I can apply in my own life. And these conversations have been so fun from that perspective, to connect with the people that you might know personally, you might only know through LinkedIn or seeing at conferences. And now it's a fun, unique chance to get to know people. Tonight is Randy Brunschwig from Excell and Nissco marketing groups. And I've known, buying groups. I've known Randy on and off, for, 5-6 years, because we both live in Denver, where we run into each other at shows, and I've been in his offices a couple times, etc. And he's got a really cool story. He didn't start in food service. He found his way here. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And it's going to be a great night, everybody. I'm super glad. We had a ton of people join in the last day. I'm sure a lot of people in Excell or manufacturers that are part of Excell and Nissco. So we're glad you're here. Welcome to the Food Service Power Plant Network. If you're new, you're going to find this community is an amazing community of, I think we're at 1,100 now, food service professionals around the country and the world, who are lifting each other up, who are sharing positive mindset tools, who are finding ways to laugh, who are connecting, staying connected in times of isolation. And we're really glad you're here. Now, real quick, you are welcome to leave a comment. I see some comments already coming. If you've got a comment for Randy or I, throw it in there. If you've got a question for Randy and you've got something you want to ask him, throw it in there, and we'll put Randy on the spot, and he'll answer and share some, wisdom in his story, etc. If you want us to see your name, by the way, go to StreamYard/Facebook and just enter your name. And that way we can see you. Like, I can tell here, Todd. So I'm going to bring one up right here. Todd has entered his name because I see it there. Someone's saying hello all. Hello all to you, but we don't know who that is. So if you go to StreamYard/Facebook, let us know. And then I'm also going to be monitoring my phone best I can to see if I can see you, because we want to welcome you. We want to celebrate you. It's great to have you. Let's go find him. Randy!
Hello. How are you?
I'm great, brother. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm super glad you're here. You are already, the love is coming. Randy is on. Alyssa is clapping. What is up, my friend? Alyssa, Todd Strader, Vanessa Page said hello all. Well, hello, Vanessa. And hello, Todd. This is incredible. I love it. Happy hump day. Happy hump day, friend. Everyone, it's really great to be with you. We're going to have a great next hour. Okay, Randy. So, you've been with Excell. You've been in food service how long?
17 years. Long time.
That makes you old.
Really old. Really old. I just entered my 50th year.
Awesome. Congrats. Did you do anything fun for 50?
Well, I haven't hit 50. I'm 49, but it's my 50th year. So I've pledged to myself that I'm going to do 50 epic adventures this year.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Maybe as we get down the road of this conversation, you can share some with us. That's incredible. Tell us about your journey before food service, kind of just your career journey to how you got to where you are.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. First, just want to say congrats to you, man. What you've built here, and with 1,100 users, I am stoked to see where you go and where you take this. So thanks for having me. So my career journey, started, my first job was delivering newspapers and selling gum on school buses and mowing lawns. Actually funny, my very first day of my career journey was delivering newspapers. I don't know if you remember when newspaper guys would put on those little vests and shove papers in the front and back.
Sure.
And I walked out the door with my brother, and it was snowy, it's Denver, and I slipped on my butt, and I was laying there like a turtle, like floundering around. And I don't know, maybe it was strategy deep in my mind, but my mom came flying out, put us in the car, and drove us for the next 2 months delivering newspapers. So I didn't have to walk, so that was good. Sure, I learned a lesson there. But yeah, I'm from Denver. I went to school out east, and after school, I started out in New York City in corporate finance. So I spent the first 10 years of my career doing M&A work, mergers and acquisitions, and strategic advisory for companies in all sorts of industries, and had a good time doing it. And New York was a great place to live. Spent a year in San Francisco doing the same thing. And then one day I woke up, it was shortly after 9/11 actually, and realized that I just didn't love it anymore. I wasn't having as much fun. You work long hours in that job, 80 to 100 hours a week. And I just decided it was time for change. Yeah. And so, figured out I was going to pick it up and move back home. My parents were there, my family's there. So I, hung it up one day and moved home and tried to figure out what to do with my life. And by luck of the draw, ran into Excell. And here we are 17 years later.
Holy gosh, man. Were there things you learned in that previous life experience? In that, I'm sure there's plenty of things. Anything in particular that you learned that set you up to be prepared to jump into food service?
I like to eat and drink. That didn't hurt. Listen, it was a fascinating experience. I learned so much, in New York, doing what I was doing, about relationships and about working with people. We were business services in New York, and I'm business services now, if you will. And so there's a lot of correlation. When I looked for something to do here in Denver, I gave myself a long runway. I figured if I can find something in the next 3 years, when I moved back, that would be a good thing, because I didn't want to jump into something that I wasn't going to love. And, when I ran into Excell and had the opportunity to take over for the gentleman that founded the group, it just hit me that so much about Excell played towards my strengths. I didn't know how to manufacture anything. I didn't know about a lot of different businesses, but I could understand how to negotiate contracts. I can understand how to build relationships with our vendor partners and our dealers. I can understand how to think about their businesses and help them. So there's a lot of overlap, a lot of translation there that I think has, helped me to find some success here.
Would you, jumping into food service, well, first of all, before we go there, Leona is sending some love. That is awesome. I don't know who this
Leona.
Is there anyone who you go by Big Dog to them?
Big Dog.
I guess they could be talking to me for all I know. I don't know.
I think they're talking to you. Oh God, there could be a few people. It's actually one of the best things about doing what I do is when you build these relationships. They're a business relationship, but they're your friends, and you hang out with them at events and conferences, and you can laugh at them and they can laugh at you. And so whoever Sup Big Dog is, maybe they'll identify themselves. But
Mike Concho,
someone we shared a life.
Mike Concho, there you go. That is awesome. Who's saying hello, Randy? That is Tracy Mupford. Hi, Tracy. We've got our first question. Alyssa, 50 epic adventures. What is number one on the list? Do you already know?
So number one just happened. So my birthday was 8 days ago. And this last weekend I went to Jackson Hole with a couple buddies, and actually it was such a great way to start. Skied epic powder, 52 inches in the last 72 hours that we were there. And Saturday we got to ski with Tommy Moe. Tommy Moe, the Olympic gold medal downhillist from the 74 Olympics.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a top few ski day of my life. So
Good for you. I love it. You're starting
Wow.
on time. You're getting it done. Look at
Make it
this.
happen.
Joe Carcione. Two good men. Cheers, boys. Randy, do you have a cocktail tonight?
Oh, Joe, I don't. Maybe if my wife's listening, she'll bring me a bourbon. It's entirely possible.
Shannon, that'd be great too. I mean, who knows? We'll see. So my son, 9-year-old, brings me this yesterday. You know what this is?
Uh-uh.
It's a mood ring. Him and his buddies went in and bought mood rings, 50. They're selling them at school to make a profit. They're figuring out how much they're all going to get. So he come in, he's like, hey, talk about first jobs. He goes, Dad, you want to buy a mood ring? I'm like, I don't know. What are they? So they change color. He puts it on my finger and it turns a color. He's like, oh, that's not good. I'm not sure about your mood. And so it was great, man. It was awesome.
Dude, that's awesome. Tell the kids to make some money doing that. I love it.
He's trying. So you're skiing mountains in Jackson Hole. You come in to take over a company in food service and an industry that wasn't necessarily where you came from. There's a lot of skills you had which transfer. Would you consider yourself, like, are you a risk taker by nature?
I am definitely a risk taker. I'd say I'm a risk taker, but it's always calculated, right? There's a risk and reward associated with everything. And so I think I take risks that make sense, right? That the reward is big enough to match the risk. I mean, listen, you only live once, and to me, you got to live to the fullest and live every day in the moment, and get out there and make it happen. No one's going to make it happen for you, right? So, to do that, I think you got to take risks. We take a risk every morning, right, when we wake up and decide what we're going to do with our day. And so, I would say I'm a pretty big risk taker.
I love it. You suck every ounce out of life that you can that it'll give you. Why not? I mean, why live with regret? Why live with the tank half full? Todd Strader. Todd's having a cocktail. Love it. Josh Callahan, what's up, brother?
You can come say hi.
You got one.
She won't get on camera. Get on camera. Carcione, cheers, buddy.
Joe inspired some good stuff happening in the Brunschwig house tonight. That is awesome.
I'm gonna pay for that one. I owe her.
You got it. You got it. Little hustlers love it. It's someone's loving mood rings. Mood rings are awesome. And apparently I was in a bad one yesterday, according to the color. I don't know how accurate. We'll have to do some research. Todd, Liam, you just scored tonight, pal. Todd's taking 2 mood rings. Awesome. Okay, so we've been home now just about a year. How has family life changed for you in this year, now being home more, and what have some highlights been for you and your crew?
Yeah, hard to believe it's been a year, right? But it's been interesting. So I got 4 kids. Okay. 2 of them are older, 26-year-old twins, and younger, 13 and a 15. And so when all this went down, the older kids moved back home and stayed with us. So we had a full house. Actually, one of them's their girlfriend came and lived with us as well. So we had a house of 7 and a couple dogs. So it was craziness all the time. But you look back and we tried to make the best of it, tried to have fun with it. I remember my daughter was disappointed because we had planned to go to Hawaii in March or April, I can't remember, and obviously that got canceled. So instead of going to Hawaii, we had a theme night, right? Had a Hawaiian dinner night, and everyone put on their floral shirts, and we made a little luau. And my son Brian is he went to bartending school, so he made a special drink for the occasion. Cool. And we had this theme night, and that kind of stuck through COVID. So once a week, maybe every 2 weeks, we would have a big theme night, and we had formal night where wore the top half of my penguin suit, my tuxedo, and sweatpants, because why wouldn't you wear sweatpants during COVID? And
totally.
Had surf and turf, and we had breakfast for dinner, and we had toga night. So it was cool. We just we made the most of it and had fun, a lot of laughs. And my son Ben made putt in the basement, which was really cool, except when he started using real golf balls and not the little fake ones. Got a few dents from that. So I don't know. It turned out to be a blessing, quite honestly, because I can't I never thought that all of us would be in the same place again at the same time. Yeah, we'd like to figure out vacations, but with two 26-year-olds working, one of them can't make it usually. Everyone's on different schedules. So just everyone being together for, those 4 months or so, it was really cool. We probably drank too much. We laughed a lot. But it turned out to be, probably one of the greatest gifts we could have gotten, because the growth I witnessed, especially in the younger kids, despite all these disappointments and the way they worked through it and finally understood, and quite frankly developed a few qualities that I hold near and dear. The grit and the perseverance and the resilience that I think I always hoped for in my kids and tried to instill, but never really saw. That really came out over the last year. So I don't know, looking forward to everything getting back to normal, but it's been a blessing. I got a lot of gratitude for having that happen to us.
Oh, Randy, I think a lot of things about what you just said. I'm going to comment in a minute. Alyssa says, here's a story of a man named Randy. That's so good. I love it. First of all, there's a phrase that rings in my head, and I think I learned it from my sister-in-law years ago. She said, the family that plays together stays together. And it sounds like you all play together. You have fun. You enjoy one another. That is awesome. All the different themes and the way that you took just a normal dinner and you turned it into something that they'll probably remember the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd say we work really hard. I give credit to my wife. My wife works so hard at making sure that there's just stuff for us all to do together.
Yeah.
And it's so important. And it's 4 people that I love spending time with, right? So why wouldn't we? So we put a lot of effort and a lot of time into making sure that we have those opportunities.
Well done. Kudos to you and your wife. And, I think, how else to learn? You talked about grit and resiliency, traits that you'd love to see that you hold near and dear, that you want to see in your kids. I don't know that those can ever be born in times of ease. And, it's the challenging stuff, the things you got to figure out and learn through and say, I'm going to find a way to learn in this, that you learn that and you build it. So good for you guys to find it. Who is this? Someone, it's not all updating, but someone's saying she's the best. There's someone who knows your wife and loves her. I love this. Okay, let's talk a little bit of industry and a little bit you've got a lot of worlds because you've got a lot of partners. You've got a lot of dealer partners that are partners in Excell and Nissco. You've got a lot of manufacturer partners and consequently rep partners, et cetera. Generally speaking, like how have the dealers been doing recently? And let's start with there. How's your world doing in terms of your dealer partners?
Yeah. Sorry, you see my dog roaming around behind me. So
doing laps.
He sleeps under the desk all day, so he's wondering what's going on. Listen, it's a mixed bag, and which probably doesn't surprise you, right? I think if we look at it in the aggregate, things look actually really good, to be honest. And it's amazing how resilient this industry is, right? And how that entrepreneurial spirit in hospitality just comes rearing back. When you peek under the covers, it's a pretty different story, right? There are clear, I'd say winners and losers. It's not winners and losers. It's clear people that have excelled and others that are struggling. And so it's hard, right? It's hard that, I was talking to a dealer in the New York area this week, and they're having a tough time. And when you look at the papers, you can understand why that is. Versus another dealer I was speaking to in Florida that they're going gangbusters, right? So a lot of geographical differences with how they're doing, but they're all ready to go. They're optimistic. They know that sooner or later that we're coming back and we'll be on a growth curve. And so that's satisfying to hear, and I'm glad that they're not depressed about what may come. So we spend a lot of time, my team really spends a lot of time on the phone with these folks, just doing whatever we can to help them. whether it's just talking or whether it's offering ideas. We share because obviously the dealers and their teams come up with great things.
Yep.
And same thing on the vendor side. Quite frankly, I think it's the same story. That there's a lot of positive stories and there's a lot of people struggling. But I think personally the nature of the beast. And when I look back at some of my notes from our conversations with folks throughout the year, this last year, we were pretty optimistic and we saw a nice growth trend, going in September, October, before the November shutdowns hit. So I have no reason not to believe that that's coming. So we're pretty stoked. And I think dealers are, like restaurateurs, they're amazing and they're creative and they find things, some of the ideas they've come up with are so cool. So
was there any cool creative ideas that a dealer did that stuck out to you that was like, wow, that's pretty ingenious or really cool?
Probably the biggest one was, and it's related but unrelated to their actual business. There's a dealer in Pennsylvania at Nova, John Gavin, who created these things called seat peeps. So if you haven't seen them, go to seatpeeps.com. Okay. But they're basically social distancing placeholders that you put on a chair in a bar, and they look like a person. So the seats kind of filled. You didn't have to remove furniture, which, as you know, is a huge problem for folks where they're like, God, I've got to remove this stuff. Where do I put it? Or they put yellow tape or something awful around it. So it was an interesting, creative idea for social distancing and saving the operator money. Actually, right? They're inexpensive, and the operator just has to put them down. They can move them around depending on party size. So I thought that was really interesting. And he's pretty close to landing actually some really big agreements with with a very large brand. So wishing him good success in that. But that was really cool. Just something totally different and went with the flow. And then there's a lot of dealers just, refreshing showrooms, right? You've been around that. You walk into some of the showrooms and they probably haven't been dusted in a while, right? And it's they actually remind me of my grandfather's pawn shop. So I actually grew up in the pawn industry when I was back in high school with my mom and my grandfather. And different story, or we could talk about it. But you walk into some of these food service dealerships, and man, they are what you would picture a pawn shop 50 years ago, right? Like a little dingy. And so they've refreshed them, right? And they added new product categories, whether it's stand or parts or, other things, and they've cleaned them up and put in better lighting and, did all the things to make sure that when the world comes back, they're ready to rock and roll. We had one dealer that was doing a virtual showroom, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. And then other dealers, I think, are just staying close to customers. One of the things we did as a group was we went out, we hired, accountants and lawyers to do webinars for our teams to understand, if you remember when the CARES Act came out, and they were changing the rules every 4 minutes. And it was, it was hard for the attorneys to understand, let alone, us people that are selling forks. Yep. And so, we did a lot of that work and tried to educate our clients, but our dealers took that and then went to educate their customers, which I think is huge, right? They were a trusted advisor, and they didn't just care about selling the next stove; they cared about that business and those people. So, all good stuff.
Good for them. I think when we all do come back, the people that built the relationships and partnerships outside of just what we sell on a human level and the greater good will come out stronger for sure. We've got a lot of people. This is our buddy Ben. Ben in Florida. What's up, Ben? This is my buddy Mary Margaret Dunn. Mary, what is up? This is so fun. Who's this? Grit and resilience. I love it. Todd Solemn, the seat peeps. So rad. What a cool idea. Row is, there it is, seat peeps. Love it. Rich Maliki, our buddy from Jersey's on. What up, Rich? Good to see you. You've got your conference coming up. I love it. Okay, Randy, we all, it's been a year of plenty of emotion. and times of incredible hope when things were coming back, times of, for many, incredible fear at different times, not knowing what the future holds, some anxieties. In the moments that you're down or discouraged, we all get there. Do you have a couple go tos, anything in your world that when you wake up in the morning, you're like, man, I just don't feel myself? That you're like, you know what? Here's my playbook of how I handle feeling down just to get myself back in a good state of mind. Anything you have in like that? 6:30
Um,
a.m. is pretty early, but hey, whatever works for you.
whatever works. For me, I start every day with exercise. I found long ago that sets my brain straight. So no matter what mood I wake up in, I get my butt in gear and get a sweat on. And I used to meditate, and I'm just not good at it, if you will. It doesn't stick to me. But I view exercise the same way. It clears my brain. It kind of gets me fresh, gets my juices pumping, gives me energy, and makes me forget, all that crap that, has been rolling around in my head that maybe, I just don't like, or is depressing, or I don't want to do. So exercise really, really does it for me most of the time. I also, sometimes I do some meditation. I like the Calm app, and I like their daily Calm, because it's less about 20 minutes of Zen and more about a message that I think is inspirational.
Yeah.
So and if it's middle of the day, especially this last year, sometimes I'll take this guy, the dog walking around, out and just run with him, and I love that because it just brings joy to my face to watch. His name's Brody, go crazy chasing geese and doing whatever. So, anything I can do to snap out of it, I'll just jump in and do it.
I think it's a great word, snap out of it. I think we underestimate the degree to which simple things like that, either changing a mindset with either meditation or the Calm thing or a different perspective, or particularly exercising, like you said, get a sweat on. It changes your state. It changes the chemicals, in your body to give you a different perspective without having to solve the problem yet. Whatever the challenge is, those things all are great ways to do it. Who's this? Preach it, Dave Sheffrey. Preach it, shots. There we go. Robert in the house. I'm impressed. Look at this. This is so fun. Who's this? Kathy, love 4 or 5 minute micro meditations during the day. Good call, Kathy. It doesn't have to be long. You don't have to be there for a half an hour and, anything like that. It can be quick little moments for sure. Allison Cody is in the house. Allison, what is up, friend? Who's this? This is Casey Rawlings. First time I've heard calm and food service in the same sentence.
Well,
Casey,
he's from Louisiana, so
there you go.
that's a little different,
Casey, there's a yin and a yang to everything, right? So there's, we'll find moments for it. And I'm calling on Louisiana now, Casey, so we'll have to meet. This is great. Rob Connolly is watching. Rob, what is up? Fist bump, boom. Who is this? Alyssa. Randy made us start a company-wide meeting once with a meditation. Randy, rad. That is awesome. What did people do? What was their reaction when you're like, you come in the room and you're like, hey, we're not doing it the typical way. Here's how we're starting.
Listen, you got to mix it up, right? So, at a couple conferences, you got a room full of people, and everyone's looking at you and listening to you, and it just seemed right. And so, little 30 seconds or 2 minutes of mindfulness. I think they thought I was nuts, but they all did it. I think my eyes were shut, so maybe they didn't. But it was good. It kind of set this calm mood. It was great. We should do that more often.
I love it. Someone's saying, "Oh, Janie Lee Lewis would love that. She wants to be at your conference when you meditate." Who's this one? I meditate at all the conferences. This is really fun. Okay. We all have moments in life where we question ourselves, and we all have limiting beliefs. right? Things that we think, oh, I can never accomplish, I can never overcome, I can never ski with an Olympian in Jackson, whatever the millions of things are that we hold ourselves back. Was there a limiting belief in your story along the way that you overcame and now you're even like thriving in? Something that you work through?
God, there's probably a million of them, quite honestly. I spent vast majority of my life questioning myself. I mean, I think I'm probably my biggest critic. I criticize so much of what I think and even what I do, and I'm judgmental about myself. And it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just the way I'm made. So, I think the good news is I know that doesn't serve me well, right? I know it's not good for for how I want to show up in life, quite frankly. But for a long time, it's just the story I told myself, right? I told myself that, I wasn't smart enough to open my mouth in that room, or that my opinion wasn't going to be valuable to those others, or that, I don't deserve what I've achieved in life. And I don't know where it came from, quite honestly. It still crops up today, quite honestly. And so, I don't know, I've done a lot of personal reflection. I've gone to a lot of, leadership training places. I've done a lot of work with my YPO forum, the Double Deuces, who, give me a good, strong look in the mirror to wake me up and, help me understand who I am and what I bring to the table. And, and those beliefs, they were limited for sure, right? They held me back on whatever I was trying to accomplish. And, finally hit the point that, somehow I snapped over that line and realized that I just don't care, right? That if you don't like what I had to say, sorry, we can be friends and disagree, or, I can make a stupid comment every once in a while, but, 9 times out of 10, it might have value for somebody. And so I kind of was able to cross that line. And, one of the things I did for myself that I think helped is I pushed that situation as hard as I could, meaning I did my best to surround myself with people that I knew were smarter or brilliant, right? That I knew I was, on the lower end of that intelligence scale in that room, or going skiing. I pushed myself to ski with the best people I can find that push me to be my best. And it's forced me to confront that head on, right? And to get over that hump. No one's going to do it for you at the end of the day, right? I feel bad, and you look at some folks that are just stuck, and we can give them empathy, and we can understand what they're going through, but you got to push yourself through whatever that barrier is to do it for yourself, because no one's going to do it for you, right? So I had those limiting beliefs and finally figured out what's the worst thing that can happen. You get a good laugh, and then I laugh at myself at the same time. That's all right.
Well,
I laugh at myself all the time.
I think there's a lot of people better in the industry better. This has been a theme in a lot of conversations about people being afraid to use their voice and to be heard, or that what would come out would embarrass them or would hurt someone. And you start flexing that muscle and trying. And every time you use your voice, you're using it to an end. Right? There's a goal you have in mind, and you don't say things that counteract that if you know where you're going. And leadership isn't always easy, obviously, and we say things and we have to make choices sometimes that are hard. So I'm glad you pushed that, and I'm glad you dove into that, and I appreciate your reflection and that you're willing to look at yourself and say, hey, what's an area of growth or that you have and you've worked through it? I think that is a great trait in a leader, and that's been another theme in a lot of conversations. Hey, I am a work in progress. What you see today at 49 is not what you would have seen 10 years ago at 39. And I'm developing and I'm growing. And lastly, a huge trait, I think, of any leader or person, it's actually going to be a trait of becoming a food service power plant, is finding people who are higher than you. And meaning leveling up, right? If I want to grow skiing, find the best skiers and go become buddies with them, because you're inherently going to push yourself more because they're pushing themselves more. Or if it's in, I don't know, finances. Go find people who are really great in that world or understand that world, and you go become friends because you rise up to the people you surround yourself with. So super, really great lessons, and you're doing it, man. You're living it. This is awesome. So inspirational. Allison Cody, Warren Manzer is on. Nice hearing and seeing you, both of you. Warren, what is up, my friend? Who's this? I don't know if I can see who this is. Maybe we'll try. Let's see here. Oh, Taz. This is our buddy Taz. Taz works for Walmart Corporate down in Arkansas. I meditate often, even if it's staring at myself in a mirror. Steel up. I'm also my biggest critic. Have to get it done regardless. Taz, thanks for sharing, brother. I love it. This is great. So many of us. I know very few people that don't beat themselves up. People who at least are committed to growth and who are leaders in some way because you want to be great at what you do. And that's a fine balance of beating yourself up and also being kind to yourself. I don't know where it is. I mean, I'm not going to say I know how to do it any better than you do. That's for sure.
No, I think it's hard. I think, though, all this stuff that you just mentioned, and it leads towards us showing up better every day, right? That I know tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to show up 0.1% better.
Yeah.
And all those 0.1% add up. And so, you start to think of just those little pieces, and you get over the hump, right?
Yeah, brother. Man, you should write a talk, motivational talk. You'd
I don't
crush
know about
it.
that.
You'd crush it. Are you a goal setter?
I am. I set a lot of goals. I
Okay.
set big ones. I set small ones. I set daily ones.
Huh.
I set, BHAGs, right? Big, hairy ass goals. I set goals all the time. For me, I think it helps me be intentional about how I'm spending my time, right? I have only one day today and only so many hours in that day. And if I don't set a goal, I waste it, quite honestly. And I've wasted plenty of days, and that's okay too. But over the long period, I look to figure out how do I set goals and make sure that that I'm accomplishing whatever it is my dreams are and aspirations are. And actually, a friend mentioned this recently. He said, over the course of a year, we probably set too high of goals. But over the course of 10 years, we set way too few, and we're way too short-sighted on what we can actually accomplish.
Yep.
And that really resonated with me. So for me, I try and get goals at all different lengths of time, so that I can focus on my journey, and I can prevent laziness and procrastination. So as an example, I wake up every morning, and at least mornings that I'm in the office, I look at whatever's on my calendar and whatever I'm doing, and I write down 3 things that I'm getting done that day, at the expense of anything else, right? What are the 3 things that will move the needle for me today? Because I know I'm not going to get to everything, right? Like you and so many people, I got an inbox full of email that is unending, right? I got text streams coming in. I mean, you guys know the game. So I don't know, I found maybe 10 or so years ago that if I just write down 3 things that are going to happen today, I know that at the end of the day, at 6:42, when I get my bourbon, I feel great, right? Because I know that there's so much I didn't get done, but I got done whatever the most important thing was that day. So those are kind of micro goals that push me forward. And then I have 10-year goals of where Excell Nissco should be, right? And we may fail. We probably will fail, and that's okay. That's just an educational lesson. But if I don't put it out there, I'm not going to be able to break it back down into my yearly goals and my monthly goals and my weekly goals to even have a chance of success. So, set a lot of goals.
Man, it's someone posted these targets, and that's what I was thinking of when you were talking about this. When I get in my car to go somewhere, if I don't know where I'm going, I type it into a GPS, and that's how I make sure my GPS helps me figure out how to get there the quickest. If I don't type in a destination, I'm just going to be driving in circles around my neighborhood, getting nowhere. So your goals, it reminded me, like someone put in here, a target. Jamie Lee Lewis, I love it. Very much a target that helps you know where you're going to get to. This is Kathy is with Zumba Group. Kathy, hi, friend. I appreciate leaders who are willing to be vulnerable from time to time. One of my favorite quotes is that people would rather follow a leader who's always real rather than one who's always right. Wow. I've never heard that one, but I love that.
I love that too, Kathy. That's awesome.
Really, really, really well said.
That's one of those things, Kathy, that if you caught me in New York City, and I had a great career there. Honestly, I felt that I was really successful, but there was no vulnerability. I mean, zero. I was, such a different person. And, it was only when I came to Denver and, over the first 3, 4, 5 years of being at Excell that I learned how important that was, not just for others, right, but for myself, right, to give myself a break and not have to put up a veneer that I'm, so great. And, who am I serving if I do that? So I think, the people that taught me that and allowed me to get to that place, man, I love them because it changed me permanently. So I appreciate that quote a lot.
Really well said. Great quote, Kathy. Todd, a quote I love. It's not enough to climb the ladder. You must bring people up the ladder with you. Heck yeah. We're raising up together, right? If you're a leader, there's people that as you rise, that you're bringing people up, like we talk about, the people you surround yourself with, and vice versa. As your team rises up and steps into things and new roles, that they bring you up as well. And it's symbiotic. It's working together. And Randy, here's a question. You said you've talked a lot about the people you've surrounded yourself with. Were there people that you surrounded yourself with who taught you vulnerability, who said it's okay to let that guard down a little bit? It's okay to be real and not necessarily be right.
Yeah, a couple things probably. I mean, I mentioned a couple of them earlier, but they really hit me. So my, I don't know if you know what YPO is, Young Presidents Organization, my YPO group, there's been a group of us, 8 guys, just so happens to be guys, not that there's not other people, but there's 8 guys. And we've been together for 12 years. We meet every single month for 4 hours.
Wow.
And, it was within that group and that forum that, I think I learned a lot of these things and learned from, most of them are leaders of large organizations, and learned that, you don't have to have a veneer, right? You can be real. You can, I woke up to having a little bit of EQ, right? And so they were huge for that. My wife was huge for that because that was one of the places that I could actually, sit down and cry, right? And it started coming out in other places, right, in other situations. And, eventually you stop taking yourself so damn seriously, right? And realize that it's all good. It's all good. I'm just human, right? As you said at the beginning, I wake up and I put my pants on and, strut down the hall to my office, just like you do. And so it's all okay. And it's made me a better person, right? More open, more honest with myself, mostly, which I think makes me more honest with everyone around me.
I think that's a really great point. I'm a firm believer that I can only be to other people what I'm willing to be with me. And, and so, man, Randy, you're doing some preaching tonight, brother. Alyssa, one of the greatest things Randy has taught me is to be vulnerable. We are at our most powerful the moment we no longer need to be powerful. Wow. Yeah. Really, really well said, Alyssa. What a great gift and lesson to learn, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the more people like Alyssa is awesome, by the way. Alyssa, it's because of people like that, and Leona commented, and so many others here that, the more they open up in those ways, it makes, A, it's easier for me, but B, it almost makes more abundant for me, right? It's, as I see it in other people, I mean, the gift is on me, right? I get the gift of them, seeing how that works. So maybe it's a little self-serving, right? That as you go through that path, the real winner is yourself when you allow that to happen.
Well, I think I like to say all the time, I don't know, what did you say? It's a little self serving. I consider myself to be one of the most selfish people I know because, when you practice all this stuff and you take all these tools on and you learn to be real and vulnerable in leadership and you give to others, it always gives back when you're doing it right. And so I love being selfish from that perspective because I love feeling better. I love when it comes back. I love growth. I love learning. So I don't know. I think it's great. Okay, one of the things when we talked about when we connected a few weeks ago is the idea. One of your key values is putting people first. What does putting people first mean to you?
Um, yeah. So listen, God, we put it on paper, I don't know, 10 years or so ago. This is one of those things actually when we first started putting values and stuff together, I thought it was such garbage. Like, we don't need values. So it was probably 15 or 16 years ago. And again, changed my tune. It's okay to change, right? When you know the right way is forward. What's the Chinese proverb? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today, right?
Yep.
So it's okay to change. And, so we put our values on paper and I love them. One of them is putting people first. And so I think for me, what it really means is I grew up and have been so business focused. It was all about business. And the texture behind that, the people behind that became just tools towards an end. And it was awakening to me, that it's really not about business. Yes, it's about business, but it's not about business. It's about the people behind those businesses whose lives we're touching and changing, right? It's about, Alyssa and Dimitri and my other team members that are out there every day killing it and understanding that they're just humans too, right? And they could have had a bad day, or they could have, I don't know what baggage they bring to the table every day. They don't know what baggage I bring to the table every day. And so putting people first means, I give you an A, right? I give you an A. I don't know what you have going on that's causing whatever behavior you have, but I believe in you and we'll get through it, right? That you're the cause and effect of our success, right? And so why wouldn't I value what you do and how you do it? And that's everybody, right? At our dealers, our vendors, you, everyone on this list. I love it, right? So it's the human beings that are going to drive our success, and we always need to remind ourselves that they're the priority, not the business. So that's what I think about when I think about putting people first.
Yeah, Randy, I love it. Who's this? What is JFDI? Does that mean? Should I know what that means?
Just freaking do it. So that came from, so I mentioned Rapport. Rapport is a leadership training institute outside of Las Vegas, like Alamo, Nevada, like 2 hours outside of Las Vegas.
Okay.
And I sent a couple of my team members there. I went there. Actually, I ran into folks from Hatco there. They send tons of their people there. And so do some other organizations who I'm just not remembering right now. But that was one of the things that they preach, just do it, man. Get out there on the skinny branches of life and make it happen. That's where the sweetest fruit is anyway. And so, it goes back to that limiting belief, well, I have a limiting belief. That's not where people get happy. Let's get out there and make it happen and just freaking do it.
I love it. Just friggin' do it. That rocks. Talk about getting into gear. This is Mike Honcho, firm believer in taking care of the people that take care of you. Heck yeah. I mean, Randy, to your point about the business and the people, I have no idea. We all have goals, we have numbers and everything. I don't know that I'm not great at necessarily always hitting a number, but I like to think that the things that I put in terms of taking care of people, working hard, building relationships, building trust, that those make the business happen. The numbers will come. They're simply a byproduct of doing the right things along the way to be really good to people. And it sounds like exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, totally agree. If you live a successful, fulfilled existence and do what makes sense and what's right, the rest does itself, right? I mean, we're so fortunate for what's happened at Excell and Nissco, but that all started with, again, one little thing at a time. Mike Honcho, that's a character from Talladega Nights, right?
Oh, no, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Anyway, but yeah, it all starts there. So I can't see his comment anymore. But yeah, you take care of the people and they take care of you. I think that, going back to your earlier question, was one of the toughest things about this last year, right? If we have this belief in people first, having to do layoffs and furloughs just freaking sucked, right? It was an affront to that feeling of people first, even though we knew what we had to do for the business. And it was so hard because it destroys trust, right? And those people that we had to furlough and lay off, they're still friends with everyone at the office and us and me. And so you destroyed trust that hopefully we've started to build back here through this period. But I think when you put people first, I think you're allowed to build that back, right? And you're allowed to overcome those hurdles that, were tough on those people that had to deal with that. They were tough on my employees. They were tough on me. They're tough on everyone, right? But putting people first allows you to get through that moment.
Really well said. Yeah, those are really hard moments, of course, for you, for them. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's a lot. Who is this? This is Guile Walker. My favorite quote is by Sam Walton. When you see a man at the top of a great mountain, remember he didn't fall there. Wow. When you reach that peak or those peaks, do you celebrate, and how? Really great question, Guile. How do you celebrate when you achieve your goals, when you hit those mountains, Randy?
I'm laughing because I drive so hard that I do celebrate, but sometimes I blow right through that and then come back to the celebration. So I'm just a hard charger in that way. But, I agree. It's good to celebrate every little win. You took a lot of little steps to get to the top of that mountain. We should celebrate before we go on to that next goal. Typically for me, it's, there's no big celebration. It's a high five and a great job and an attaboy and let's get going. Yeah. Not that I don't want to devalue the celebration. It's there. It just doesn't come out in fireworks.
Sure. You're running. I hear you. I'm not a great celebrator either for whatever reason in my life. I don't know why. I just keep moving on to the next thing. I probably need to slow down a little bit more. Okay. We talked about giving. And it's a big part of Excell Nissco. The culture that you've built is giving back. You guys have a program called Cooking Up Better Lives. Tell us about that and what you're working on right now.
I will. I'm laughing because Ro and Leona are writing "Ring the Bell." So
I'm looking at it.
Like, I don't know how long ago it was, 5-6 years ago. Probably because I don't stop to celebrate. I don't remember whose idea it was, but we put a big bill in the office. I don't remember what the saying is on it, but whenever there's a success, when a new dealer comes on or something big happens or something fun, somebody rings that bell. And the tradition in the office, God, we got to get back to that, or we got to figure out how to virtually ring it, was then everyone gets up from their desk. It was a loud bell. And we have an instantaneous group meeting and talk about whatever success we just had. So, yeah, we got to get back to ringing the bell.
That is awesome. This is Janie Lee Lewis. Oh, so great. So
your question, giving back, you're asking about cooking up better lives. So,
yep.
And it was probably, Alyssa could remind me, 2007, when, I had been at Excell for, 4 years, and, we had immediate success and traction and, hit a growth curve that was so gratifying, and sat down. It was actually a gentleman, Michael Lewis, and I sat down. You probably remember Michael.
Tundra, right?
Yeah. And
I love Michael.
We sat down and, we'd have lunch, once a month. And, he looked at me and he said, "So what are you going to do to give back?" I said, "That's a damn good question." And just the way I was raised, giving back is a huge part of my life. And I don't know, at that point I was still, only 4 years in, right? It was not like, we had hit the moon. But it was right then and there that I said, you know what, we're going to create something that gives back to this industry and celebrates our own success. So back to your celebration question. So we, over the next few months came up with Cooking Up Better Lives. Had a different name then, and then again, marketing guru Alyssa renamed it, which we love. Came up with Cooking Up Better Lives, and the whole goal was to support other nonprofits in need through donating kitchen equipment and supplies. And so came up with the concept of a Better Lives makeover. Not me, again, Alyssa and her team. And so we started doing these Better Lives makeovers where we'd glom together with our dealers and our vendors and come up with something that we could donate a kitchen to. And so the goal was to have one of our dealers or vendor say, hey, this is an organization I believe in. This is an organization that needs a kitchen. Will you get behind it? And we've tried to pick one every year. So you would know here in Denver at Urban Peak at the Drop-In Center, we did that new kitchen with Cooking Up Better Lives, Excell, Nissco, and all of our dealer and vendor partners. So they're helping transform the offering for young people that are experiencing homelessness, right? They used to get a bagel and a schmear, and now they get a hot meal, and that transforms the conversation they're then allowed to have with a counselor or someone else to try and get them out of whatever they're experiencing. We did up in Maine with Joe and Stacy Guerin from RM Flag. We did House in the Woods, which helps military families heal, mostly through, I think, outdoor recreation. Put a new kitchen in there. And when we do these, basically the dealer comes to the table and says, I'm going to do the design, I'm going to do the layout, I'm going to do the installation, I'm going to do the warehousing, I'm going to take delivery, and I'm going to they're going to project manage and make this happen. And we get behind them and say, we're going to find you the equipment and supplies. Wow. We did this awesome place with Mark Raber out in Chicago called The Center, which, memory of his son Dennis, for their Pathway to Sobriety program, which was just tearjerker, as you can imagine. And then just this week, we announced the next project. You and I were talking a little bit about it. Lily Pad Cafe in Mississippi. It's being sponsored by Cody Allen and FS1 Concepts. And cool place. They're helping to educate and train young adults with special needs. And so, which is near and dear to my heart. My uncle had special needs, and it was heartbreaking to watch that. He couldn't be employed. Nobody wanted him, right? So he worked at the pawn shop, where we all learned a lot of lessons. But this place is helping to educate and train these young adults such that they can get out there in the world and they can show people that they have skills, right? And have a chance to thrive. And so cool. I'll put a plea out there. Anyone out there that wants to get involved, I think Alyssa just dropped a link in to the chat. We would love to have you involved. We can only do so much, and we'd like to do more and leverage, our capabilities into a broader scope. So it's cool.
You guys, good for you all. Great name, Alyssa and team. Love it. And the spirit behind it is incredible. And talk about something that people can always get behind, and talk about building the heart and a spirit of an organization. That's things like that really create that. I think that spirit, that energy that people love, that want to be a part of something. They're adding value. They're contributing in a bigger way. We say all the time, we don't just sell ovens and spoons and forks. There's a bigger meaning behind all this that we're contributing to. And talk about you guys contributing in such a beautiful way. I love it. This is Vanessa. Such an amazing program that ties in not only what we do and to support our communities, but is directly linked into our dealers and something very meaningful for all of them. Heck yeah, we all want to say we lived our lives in a way that was meaningful to others. And for people who aren't intentional necessarily, not people who aren't great people, but people who just don't think about it, they're not intentional about that. Michael Lewis planted a seed, right? And that continues to live on. You're planting these seeds for people who might not be thinking otherwise, and giving them something big to be a part of, helping them write that bigger story of their own journeys. And I think that's incredible, Randy.
Well said.
Oh my gosh, it's 7:01. Um,
That went fast.
it did go fast. Um, we'll end. We'll end on a lighthearted note. Favorite movie that makes you cry?
Oh God. My wife's probably laughing. I cry at everything, man. I literally do. Like we were watching A Star Is Born the other night, and there's tears coming out, and I,
Love it.
I'm a
I love it.
I'm a softie. I mean, I cry. Have you watched Yellowstone?
No.
It's not a movie. It's a series. It's on Peacock. You got to watch it. It's amazing. But you wouldn't cry. I cried during that. It's not even a tearjerker. I'm just a sap when it comes to that stuff. One little thing and out they come.
I love it, Randy. I didn't know we shared that in common. I cried. Did you ever watch Parks and Recreation?
No.
It's a show. It's like a comedy show, and it was on NBC. It's not anymore. Like the main character, the woman Leslie Knope, was elected to city council, and I'm on the couch crying. And Shannon looks over at me, and she's like, "That's how real this gets, huh? For you?" Yeah. So we share that in common. David Maxwell, great conversation. Thank you, David. Thanks for joining us. Our buddy Tom, great points. Thanks, guys. What is up, brother? Jamie Wilson. Well done, guys. Jamie, we're glad that you joined us tonight. This is awesome. Todd, you are a power plant, brother. Love to have you here. Talladega Nights. Casey Rawlings, Talladega Nights. This is awesome. Look, Randy, thank you. Thank you and your wife and your family. You gave us an hour of your time, and you certainly put thought into this beforehand. And thanks for being really real. I think there's a lot of people that have been touched by tonight's conversation and frankly learned a ton because you were willing to just be honest and lay it out there. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Totally fun.
Love it. Love it. Hey, friends, Food Service Power Plant Network. Again, if you're new, welcome. You are going to find this is a place where we're out to become power plants. Where we're people who have the positive mindset tools to generate energy in ourselves, all the things that Randy's been talking about, generate that, life-giving energy and enthusiasm, and then we send it out into our communities like a power plant. It generates energy, sends it into the community to light homes. That's what we're doing. You will find a place where so many supportive people. You're welcome to be real here. You're welcome to share your story. We want you to have a voice as well in this community. So if you find things that inspire you in a day, throw it in the group and let it inspire others. If you find something that makes you laugh, maybe it's a quote from Talladega Nights, throw it in the group because we want to laugh. Frankly, it's a positive mindset tool. If you need a place to connect, you'll find an incredible group of people here to lift you up so that you don't have to feel as alone if you're going through that right now. And remember, you're doing this. You got it. We're epically proud of you. We're glad to be doing it together. And if you're in that spot in your journey right now where it feels particularly tough, know that that Randy's been there. Know that I've been there. Know that everyone in this community has been there. And it's just a part of life. Keep going, keep moving, just keep all the things that Randy talked about tonight, finding people to kind of level up with, taking risks, moving your body, so much insight and wisdom to help you on your journey, gain a different perspective if it's that time of challenge. You're welcome to reach out to me anytime you need, or reach out to someone you trust to share that journey. If it's particularly hard, don't carry it alone. Everyone, also remember, I don't even know what conversation this is, probably 30, I'm guessing. And we've got them all on YouTube. So if you go to the YouTube and just go search Food Service Power Plant Network, go subscribe. You can see tons of conversations. We've got more great ones coming. And keep going. We're grateful for you. Keep rocking. We will see you soon. Randy, thanks again, my brother.